The letter from my mother-in-law began with, "Please make sure my son doesn't find out, no matter what happens." It arrived a week after her passing. My mother-in-law had always bullied me since I married her son. I wondered why she had any business with me now. However, as I read on, I discovered her unexpected true feelings. And when I opened the safe indicated by the key and closed, I was shocked beyond belief. I am Amy, a 35-year-old office worker. As I aged, friends and colleagues started getting married one after another. Feeling left behind, I was introduced to Jason by a friend. We hit it off immediately, bonding over shared hobbies. With his enthusiastic approaches, we quickly decided to get married. Jason had been living with his parents, but he moved into my apartment, and our married life began smoothly. We both work, so we divide household chores and split living expenses equally. Despite our busy work schedules, the time we have dinner together every evening has become a source of comfort for me.
By the way, are you free next Saturday?
Oh, you mean about your mother? The moment that topic came up, the warmth of the meal seemed to vanish instantly. It was like the atmosphere turned cold all of a sudden. Apparently, my reaction was evident as Jason immediately furrowed his brows.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable about my mom.
No worries, Jason. While putting on a calm facade, I couldn't help but let out a deep sigh internally. His parents' house is nearby, and his father passed away before our marriage, leaving his mother living alone. However, my relationship with her was far from pleasant.
Are you really 35 years old? You still lack manners. What kind of upbringing did your parents give you? My John is much more well-behaved.
During our marriage introduction, I spilled tea due to nervousness, and my mother-in-law mocked me while petting her dog.
You are not suitable for Jason. I am against this marriage.
With such words, she left me feeling hopeless. However, Jason said,
No matter what Mom says, I will marry her. I love Amy.
He boldly declared in front of his mother, and I was deeply moved by Jason's words. Despite his mother's objections, we got married. However, my relationship with her, which I had been worried about, began to significantly affect my newlywed life.
Jason is pitiful to have a daughter-in-law like Amy. I will educate her properly, so come over to our house on your day off.
My mother-in-law started summoning me to their house almost every week with such remarks. Jason came together, but he'd disappear into another room to sort through his father's belongings and leave me alone with my mother-in-law. And she would assign me household chores, nitpicking at everything I did.
Amy, the kitchen is dirty.
Oh, I was just about to clean it up.
The seasoning in the stew you made is too strong. It doesn't taste good. How many times do I have to tell you? John was much easier to raise.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely useless. Not young or pretty either. What did Jason see in you to marry you?
Her relentless criticism wore me down gradually.
Don't worry. Mom just doesn't see how great you are yet. I'll protect you, so don't worry.
His reassuring words on the way back from his parents' house always saved me. So, I tried to repair the relationship with my mother-in-law by visiting her alone on weekends. However, her attitude remained stubborn. I tried to keep a brave face, forcing a clumsy smile. Would you like to live together? Our apartment allows pets.
Live together? No thanks. I'm with my dog, so it's better to live alone.
Her words made me bite my lip in frustration as she petted her golden retriever. I had invited her to live together several times, but she refused every time, due to my existence. From the perspective of outsiders, it must have seemed like a very strained relationship between a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. At first, I tried to make it work. However, no matter how much I tried to reach out, my mother-in-law's cold attitude only escalated. Despite my efforts to improve myself, I realized that I was simply being bullied by my mother-in-law.
Women like you are a disgrace to our family. Just divorce and leave.
When she started saying that, I reached my limit. I began to despise my mother-in-law, reducing my visits to her house and maintaining a superficial relationship with her. However, after 3 months of marriage and just when I thought I had come to terms with my relationship with my mother-in-law, my husband's attitude began to change.
Damn it. Why is it always me?
It seemed that he was having trouble at work. For some reason, he started taking out his frustration on me and things around the house. One day, after ending a call with his boss, he suddenly slammed the mugs we bought together during our dating days onto the floor, shattering them into pieces with a loud crash. As I picked up the broken fragments, I couldn't help but sigh. Oh, why did things have to turn out like this? Where is the kind-hearted him? Lately, Jason's outbursts have become a daily occurrence. The first time I witnessed his behavior made me paralyzed with fear and unable to move. Music boxes bought during our dates and baccarat glasses worth $700 were destroyed. However, I couldn't say anything back. Because when I had confronted him about his behavior before, I had been kicked out of the house. I had to wait for Jason to open the door that he slammed shut, pounding on it. The fear from that moment lingered in my mind, and I simply endured in silence until the storm passed.
Huh, this isn't fun. I'm going shopping to blow off some steam.
Wait, you're going out again? Didn't you go yesterday and the day before?
Shut up. Stop nagging me all the time.
But, you haven't given me this month's living expenses yet.
I already spent that stuff ages ago.
Even the part of his salary that he used to give me at the beginning of our marriage was now being spent entirely on his hobby of collecting designer goods, and it puts our finances in a precarious state. Since Jason had lived with his parents before, he had been spoiled by them and had no sense of financial responsibility. After marriage, I explained that life costs money, but it didn't seem to resonate with my spoiled husband.
Instead of relying on me for living expenses, go earn more money yourself. How useless you are.
He yelled at me strongly, stormed out of the messy living room, and didn't come back that day. He left me alone, and as I tidied up the room, I found myself shedding tears. I never knew he was like this. I regretted my lack of judgment in choosing a partner, but it was too late to dwell on it now. I hoped to have a proper conversation with my husband and make things better, but I didn't even feel like I could suggest that. Even if I wanted to talk to someone, my closest confidant was my mother-in-law, so she probably wouldn't listen. I felt lost, so despite it being early in our marriage, I found myself considering divorce already. However, just as I began to think about it, an incident occurred. What? My mother-in-law? Seeing the message from Jason during work, I immediately left the office. It was because my mother-in-law, who had been happily walking John just a few days ago, had suddenly passed away. I couldn't get along with my mother-in-law until the end. Although I loathed my mother-in-law, I realized that she was no longer there, and it filled me with sadness and regret, and wondering if there was something more I could have done. When I arrived at the hospital, my husband was by my mother-in-law's side, visibly shaking. She had slipped on the stairs, hitting her head hard, resulting in her passing away. Instead of Jason, who was overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, unable to do anything, and left all the funeral arrangements to me. I took on the responsibility of organizing the funeral as a form of atonement, both for Jason and for my late mother-in-law. I tirelessly worked through the wake and the funeral day, while Jason merely delivered the eulogy. During the funeral, amid the chants of the Buddhist priest, he seemed drowsy, dozing off intermittently. Despite this, he engaged in unnecessary chatter with his maternal relatives, mentioning the strained relationship between me and my mother-in-law. Consequently, I endured the cold stares from those around me, spending agonizing hours, so I couldn't properly bid farewell to my mother-in-law. Then, the day after my mother-in-law's funeral.
Divorce me.
What? Still unable to accept my mother-in-law's passing, my husband suddenly handed me divorce papers.
I only married you for the money, Amy. But now that my mom's inheritance is coming in, I don't need you anymore.
I couldn't hide my shock and disbelief at this matter-of-fact revelation. You never cared about me? You said you loved me.
Huh? That was obviously a lie. Who would marry an ugly old hag like you out of love?
That's cruel.
Cruel? Look who's talking. Thought you had a stash of cash saved up since you're past your prime, but turns out you're not that loaded. Plus, you're stingy. I've been fooled by you completely.
He glared at me as if I were something repulsive. His words were so shocking that I could only stand there, deeply wounded.
Then, sign this and mail it to my parents' place. I'm outta here.
He thrust the divorce papers at me, walked out of the apartment, and never returned. Left abruptly alone, I couldn't make sense of my feelings. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down uncontrollably. It has been a week since my mother-in-law's funeral. Besides the absence of my husband, life had returned to its usual routine, and I resumed work at the office. The busyness of work helped me forget unpleasant things. Amidst those busy days, I was contemplating divorce from him positively. It feels like there has been nothing but hardship, but let's forget everything and start over. However, right after making that determination, something happened. One day, when I got home from work, I found a letter in the mailbox. Confirming the sender, I involuntarily held my breath. A letter from my mother-in-law, and it's addressed to me? Surprised that it was sent to me rather than her son, Jason, with a specified date, I opened the envelope nervously. No way, could something like this really happen? As I scanned the letter, I trembled with fear due to its shocking contents.
Please make sure my son doesn't find out.
The letter started with such a statement, and its contents were so shocking that it made me want to cover my eyes. There was a key in the envelope. Additionally, an address of a certain place was written, so I immediately rushed out of the house towards the specified location. It turned out to be a bank safe deposit box. And what awaited me as I opened the safe using the password and key written in the letter was a surprising revelation. It seems like what's written in the letter is true after all. In order to do that, I need to obtain evidence. To obtain what my mother-in-law had left behind, I visited my mother-in-law's home.
What is it? Did you bring the divorce papers?
I'll send them later. But more importantly, I came to check on John's condition. Since John had lost his master, he was sitting forlornly in my mother-in-law's room. But as soon as he noticed me, he rushed over, wagging his tail vigorously. It seemed he hadn't been taken care of properly and his fur was in bad condition. Can I take him home with me? Since the letter from my mother-in-law also said,
Please take care of John.
I asked Jason.
That's perfect. I was planning to dump him in a mountain later.
Then, can I take John's toilet and toys with me? Suppressing my rising anger, I asked and Jason happily agreed.
Sure, consider it a part of a gift. Take everything.
While I was loading John's belongings into the car, I discreetly collected the evidence hidden by my mother-in-law and left her home. I immediately examined it after I came back home, and I was faced with the reason for her sudden death and once again, tears overwhelmed me. Oh, how frustrated you must have been. I'll make sure to vindicate your grievances. Shaking with anger, I vowed firmly in my heart to deliver justice to the responsible. 2 days later, after getting everything ready, I called my husband to my apartment. Despite the funeral being so recent, Jason arrived dressed in flashy designer clothes and expensive-looking accessories that I'd never seen before. Where did you get those? I asked.
Oh, it's from my mom's savings.
His words ignited a surge of anger within me. But what about the money I paid in advance for the funeral expenses?
That's your responsibility as the wife.
Jason smirked, clearly not intending to contribute a penny. I mustered my courage and confronted him with the truth. I received a letter from your mother. It contained the key of a safe deposit box in the bank. Guess what was inside? Suddenly, Jason's arrogant demeanor disappeared and was replaced by a look of concern.
No way.
Ah, you're catching on now. I took out my phone and showed him photos of what was inside the safe deposit box.
Damn, that's where it was. I've been searching for it.
In fact, the box contained documents related to the family estate, including deeds and stocks.
Hey, those should belong to me. Where are they now? Give them back.
Jason edged me with bulged eyes. Sorry, that's not going to happen. It was your mother's wish that the inheritance should not be given to Jason, I declared.
What? What do you mean?
Jason demanded. You know the reason better than me. I said so and thrust a copy of the letter I received from his mother into his hands. Your father fell into the river and passed away when he went fishing with you, right? According to the letter, a few days before the accident, Jason sought money from his father due to the debt from extravagant purchases and was estranged from his father. However, shortly after that, Jason's father died under suspicious circumstances, and both Jason's mother and he inherited his father's estate. Your mother has suspected all along that you might have killed your father for money.
Stop spouting nonsense. Everything written here is a lie.
Jason shouted and tore the letter to shreds despite it's a copy.
You're spouting nonsense. Mom wouldn't entrust something so important to you, especially since you two didn't get along.
Jason exclaimed. That's not true. Your mother actually cared about me. Yes, my mother-in-law's coldness towards me was to protect me from my husband. Knowing her son's true personality, she intentionally acted mean to me so that I wouldn't become prey to such a man, pushing me towards divorce. Her letter expressed apologies and gratitude towards me, and her earnest wish for my happiness. My mother-in-law was truly a kind and righteous person. Yet, you went so far as to harm her for the sake of inheritance. Tears welled up in my eyes uncontrollably. However, my husband looked at me with cold eyes, sporting a faint smile.
Huh? What are you talking about?
It's unfortunate, but it's true. The footage from the camera my mother-in-law left behind is right here. I revealed that I had obtained the evidence, just as written in her letter. Jason had exhausted his father's inheritance and had started demanding money from his mother. Feeling threatened, she had hidden video cameras all over the house. I secretly retrieved them when I went to pick up John. When I checked the footage, I was shocked. It showed an intense argument between the two, and then Jason pushing his mother down the stairs. He repeatedly slammed her head against the floor as she begged for mercy, displaying a gruesome scene. Then, he smirked as she passed away. I could never forgive what you did. But before going to the police, I needed to hear it from you. Did you also kill your father? Realizing all the evidence were in the video, Jason unleashed his terrifying nature and glared at me with a demonic expression.
Haha. Yeah. I pushed Dad into the river.
You admit to everything.
Yeah, I did both. But I'm not getting caught by the cops. Now, give me the key of the safe and the evidence in the camera.
No. It's what my mother-in-law risked her life to leave behind. Why would I give it to you?
Haha. Fine. Then, I'll silence you until I find it myself later.
With a faint smile, he approached me. Stop it. Don't commit more crimes.
Shut up.
Suddenly, he grabbed me from behind, choking me.
Go to hell.
However, suddenly John tackled him to free me. John. Thank you. I hugged him tightly. As Jason stumbled to his feet, he grabbed a golf club from the corner of the room. But then, faint sirens could be heard from outside.
Huh? Cop cars?
The police heard everything you just confessed. I said, showing my phone to him. Actually, while he wasn't looking, I dialed 911 and kept the call connected on my smartphone the whole time. Suddenly, my husband lost all his bravado. He dropped the golf club and fell to his knees, his face turning pale.
Amy, please, tell them it was a mistake. My life will be over if it goes on.
After taking the lives of your own parents, it's too late for regrets now. Besides, I secretly installed hidden cameras in this room too. I'll hand those over to the police as evidence.
No. I finally got my hands on the money. I don't want to be caught.
He then started crying loudly like an unruly child, but I couldn't sympathize with such a sight. I handed over all the evidence and my husband to the police and watched them leave with John. Afterward, Jason's series of crimes were confirmed, and he went to prison. He'll never come out again. Our divorce went through smoothly, and I claimed $30,000 as compensation and the funeral expenses I had paid up front for my mother-in-law from him, through a lawyer. According to the will found in the safe, my mother-in-law's estate went to her relatives. Surprisingly, she left instructions in her will to give money to John and me as well, and I received the money from her relatives along with their apologies. After everything was settled, I visited the graves of my in-laws to report back, and it felt like I heard my late mother-in-law's voice saying, "Thank you," from heaven. I will continue to live happily with my dear family, John, from now on.
How did you like this video? Please subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.